We are talking the movie Haunt. Now this one is directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. Now these guys were responsible for a very underrated found footage movie that I reviewed a few years ago called Nightlight. It was a pretty decent and scary found footage movie. And here they turn their hat towards a haunted attraction, a kind of extreme haunted house. The cast-wise, you haven't really got any kind of particularly big names here. Katie Stevens and Will Britton head up the kind of the cast of our main sort of characters here. And it seems a trend, at least in the last few years, of every kind of Halloween, we have these kind of extreme haunted house movies that come out. I mean, last year we had like Hellfest, and there was Bloodfest, and then we've had the Houses of October built, and then this year now we have Haunt. Now the story focuses on a group of friends, in particular Harper, who is, I suppose, our point of view character, and she is a girl who has a troubled past. She's got an abusive boyfriend. She comes from a family where her father was abusive, and she's kind of taken out by a group of friends, and they just happen upon this kind of haunted house. And obviously they go there, you know, enter this kind of thing and kind of are scared initially, but obviously they assume it's obviously part of the act. And you know, we as the audience are thinking, is it something, is it an act, or is there kind of real stuff kind of going on here? But as the movie progresses, obviously things will be revealed, and you kind of find out the true malice behind this kind of like this haunted house attraction, and things that may be kind of like potentially dangerous and maybe even harmful. Was that just an accident, or something more serious kind of going on here? We'll have to watch the movie to find out. So let's talk about what works first of all with the movie Haunt. So this one was actually produced by Eli Roth. So I'm sure that you all know that name, obviously a big name in the kind of like the horror community. And he's known for kind of some more of the extreme stuff, you know, kind of a more mainstream kind of vibe at least. And this movie, I would say, is very akin to the Saw franchise. So if you've kind of seen the haunted house movies in regards to these haunted house attraction films, couple that with a kind of a Saw type movie, and that is what you get here. So basically our team of kind of main characters are going through all these kind of different various kind of like themed rooms and kind of things in this kind of haunted house. You know, each one of them presents a different challenge. There's various kind of people within here as well that they must kind of like try and kind of overcome somehow. This movie does not shy away from the gore. As with Eli Roth, like I've said, for kind of a fairly mainstream kind of horror movie maker, he tends to push the boundaries, and acting as a producer here, you can tell because this movie does not shy away from the gory effects. For the most part are practical, but you'll see things like, you know, people getting impaled through the face, jaws getting ripped off. It does not shy away from the gore here, which is obviously for you gorehounds out there, this movie is going to be of particular interest here, and it's done it to a decent effect. In fact, the whole movie, I would say, has a good production feel. It feels like a fairly well-produced movie. And when we kind of go through the sets that they've made for this kind of haunted house, they look really good. I mean, there's a lot of variety here in different kind of like things that are kind of like a kind of group of people have to overcome. It's not just kind of one set. There's lots of kind of different kind of like themed rooms and challenges that these guys have to overcome, and a whole different kind of bunch of scary kind of themed adversaries as well. So that's all pretty good in regards to you know, having a little bit of variation on sort of screen here. I have to say, I thought the acting was all pretty good here. I think we get a good sense of who these people are. Some people are a little bit underdeveloped, admittedly, but as you'd expect with kind of a more ensemble piece, there's some that are clearly going to be cannon fodder. The only guy which I would say maybe slightly overacts is the kind of like there's like the guy who can pick locks, and he's like the more loud guy, and he's just a little bit over the top, whilst everyone else, I think, plays to a kind of fairly realistic standard, at least on our kind of our group of protagonists. One element that I kind of did like within the movie, without giving away too much, there is an element here that some people in the kind of the in this haunted house attractions potentially may be sympathetic. And kind of maybe will help them, or maybe they won't. You don't really know. I'm not going to give away, but I kind of quite like the element and that kind of like thinking, oh, you know, and you question, is this really kind of, is this things that are happening in real, or is it not real, or is this guy on the level, or is he not? And it adds that kind of level of mystery. Actually, I don't want to kind of give away too much here, but I like the pacing of this film. I think it kind of ramps up, and you kind of, at some point, the penny's going to drop about what's going on. But nonetheless, I like the journey. I thought the journey was very good here. I really enjoyed our female character as well. I thought she was a particularly compelling character and played really well by the kind of the lead actress here. Do I have any faults with this movie? I do have a couple that may be a little nitpicky, but the one that bothered me the most maybe was there are some poor editing here. There are a few shots here that are just, I feel, edited to a poor standard, particularly in the kind of the latter half of the movie. Just kind of like, they just seem to be edited very sort of like quickly, and there's the transition from the previous scene didn't quite flow particularly well for me. The other thing is that, now this may not bother some people, but it's certainly the thing that bothers me, is that you try and think about this thing logically. I mean, without kind of spoiling anything here, when you think about the work and the kind of the organisation that must have gone on if this was a real thing, to try and make this kind of haunted house, how is it this has gone undetected? It just doesn't make sense. I've got to say as well, the people that are in charge of this, and there is a lot of them, we're not really given any motivation about why they are doing this. And it bothered me, because in some of these movies, you'll see, like, I've seen a couple of these films where, you know, they go into a haunted house and they're going to kind of rough up some of the actors, and in that case it makes them kind of like fight back. But here they don't really ever do that. They just are evil for no reason, if that makes sense. And there are quite a lot of them, and I didn't understand their relationship. And what I mean by this, and again I'm trying to be as vague as I can, but there is minor spoilers here, I suppose, that when we have casualties on both sides, obviously our protagonists, they're kind of, you know, they're upset, they're kind of obviously feeling the emotion, but I didn't feel that from the other side. So I thought, okay, what is the relationship between these people? And because they don't really seem to care when one of their number is hurt or killed even. But again, we're not given any information about it. And to me, I felt that you needed to have a little bit of context about what it is that these people are doing, why they're doing it, and how they've got the money, the time, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, like I said, sometimes you don't want to peek behind the curtain, you just want to be kind of, you know, swept up in the moment. But for me, because I obviously watch, and review a lot of films, I kind of pick holes at kind of some of the logic here. And then a small little minor thing. So there's a couple of instances where decisions don't make a lot of sense. For example, there's a character that tackles someone who has a gun. The gun is dropped, but it's not picked up, and things like that. You know, so there's just a couple of, like, you know, movie logic that I sometimes talk about here. But overall, it's an enjoyable film. I think if you can look past the logic issues and just accept it is what it is, you enjoy it. You know, a couple of dodgy editing kind of like aside, for the most part, if you can ignore that, then you'll enjoy this one. Like I said, it's a very gory movie. It's very well produced. The production value is great. I would have liked a little bit more context about what was going on, rather than just going, yeah, we got to accept it. But overall, this is an enjoyable, well-made horror film that I feel will deliver on the gore front, will deliver on the kind of like the thrills, and it's actually quite tense at times, and that's great for a horror film to do that, especially one which is, you know, which is involving paranormal stuff. So I'm actually going to give this one a 7 out of 10. Well worth a watch. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.